Hello, this is Fraser from the Most Dangerous Podcast. Before this week's episode, I have a small confession to make. I decided to purchase an HD webcam so that James had a better view of me. Unfortunately, while setting up, my webcam's microphone picked up my audio instead of my professional microphone, and this week's episode I do sound a little bit sketchy. This issue has been resolved for further episodes, but we decided that this week's episode was too good to miss out on. So here we go, this is Instrument. Hello, welcome to the Most Dangerous Podcast. How are you, James? You okay?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good.
It's been a bit of a while, actually, since we've done this, I think, because we've had a bit of a break, haven't we?
I know, we've changed the day we record it as well.
Yeah, we've mixed it up a bit, so I've not seen you for a while.
No.
Anything happening?
Well, it was my youngest's birthday party on Sunday.
Oh, was it really? How old?
Yeah. He's 3. Well, he's not actually. He's 3 next week, but...
Oh, right, but he just had his party this week.
Aye. So, a couple
Well,
of
that's
wee
funny.
pals.
Well, that's funny because it was my daughter's birthday party last weekend,
It
funnily
was.
enough. Yeah, she's 10. Happy birthday, Eliza.
I was going to say, your youngest, I can't believe she's 10.
Oh, no, I
That's
feel old.
frightening.
I feel very old. We had a sleepover.
Gutted.
So, yeah, I know. So that was fun. So she had like 4 mates over, and it was just absolute chaos. It's we recovered. It's fine now.
I can trump that. Last year, Erin tried to have 14 sleepover.
14 people.
Yeah, she had a cinema night. We set up the big projector screen in the living room,
Right.
put all the couches together and stuff like that to make one big massive bed.
Yeah.
The big inflatable bed in the middle. It got to about 9, half 9, and the first one started to cry and go home.
Yeah,
I think there was about 7 by midnight. 7 of them left.
How old were they?
It was our 12th birthday party.
12. So... I mean, they need to man up a bit there,
don't
they?
I know.
Yeah, 14's too many. I mean, it was your bad there, really. With 14, come on. You need to put your foot down and say
I don't get involved in these things. I don't get involved. I just pay the money. I just pay for it. That's it.
Yeah, just go and shut yourself away in your room and go,
absolutely
nothing to do with this. So before we start, actually, I just wanted to have a bit of a rewind to one of our previous episodes.
Right. Okay.
So Halloween episodes specifically. Okay. So just before I go into this, I want to just say I've got no affiliation with this guy whatsoever. He's not paying me to do this. I don't even know the guy. I don't know where he's from. But I've come across a YouTuber, right? Whilst, as you know, we do this research for this podcast, and sometimes we go down these rabbit holes and we find different things. So I've come across this YouTuber called Adam Mark Explores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how we discussed the ancient ram inn on the Halloween special that we did? So this guy is a bit of an urban explorer, and he goes into empty properties and he goes and has a look around. And I mean, he does all the stupid stuff with the paranormal tools and things like that. But he's done an episode on the ancient ram inn, if anybody's interested in that. It's about an hour long, so it's quite an in-depth look. So if it's something that piqued your interest over that episode, go and have a look. Adam Mark Explores. I say nothing to do with me, but I just thought it was a really good episode. And if it's something that you were interested in when you were listening, go and have a look at that video, because it'll give you a better insight than probably I did as to how spooky that place was.
Well, it's incredible. See, doing these podcasts, I mean, one thing, the first thing I've actually done is I've got a bit of an obsession with Mount Everest. I've been looking up programs about Mount Everest, and I was watching one the other day about Sherpas. The Ram Inn, I've watched videos about that. There's been sort of stuff we've talked about, and I've gone, God, I want to know more about that.
Yeah, it does pique your interest, definitely. I mean, there's certain things, because, we have to come up with ideas each week, and it's sometimes, you do kind of go, oh, no, what am I going to do? and then you just sort of, like I said, you just go down this sort of rabbit hole, lose yourself a little bit, and before you know it, you've somehow got an interest in Aaron Ramsey, an unhealthy interest in Aaron Ramsey. So
Okay, so what's the guy's name again?
So it's Adam Mark Explores.
Cool.
So check him out. I thought it was interesting.
Not told you this, but I've got a little shout out to do as well. I actually was in the house of an old friend of ours this week, measuring for some shutters for his mum and dad.
Okay.
And I was telling him about the podcast, and I said I'd give him a wee shout out. So yeah. So do you remember Nicky Sale?
I do indeed. Yeah, I've not seen him for a long time.
Or he's grown up now. It's Nick Sale.
Oh,
So yeah. So I told him I'd mention him to you, and yeah. He said,
no way. Good to hear from him. Hi, Nick. Hope you're good.
so James, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I've got a very interesting tale for you this week, Fraser, and it's about musical instruments. So you'll know that some instruments make you look super cool.
Yeah.
Like guitars, saxophones, they look pretty cool. And then the other instruments, maybe not so, like, I don't know, bagpipes. I don't think it looks pretty cool playing those. But there is a certain instrument that's out there that is associated with mysterious deaths. And it's actually known, mysterious deaths indeed. And it's actually known as the world's most dangerous instrument.
Wow.
And at the time, it was so feared, it was actually made illegal in some areas. Okay, so our story begins in the 1700s with a man named Benjamin Franklin. Have you heard of this Benjamin Franklin before?
Surely. Yeah. He was president, wasn't he?
He was one of the founding fathers of the USA. I think he signed the Declaration of Independence.
Was he not an inventor?
Well, this is what I am gonna come on to this. I think his face is on the $100 bill as well.
Right.
I don't have many of them in my wallet, but I'm quite sure. I think George Washington's on the $1 bill. I think.
Yes.
Benjamin Franklin's on this one. There's a few others.
Lincoln's on the $5.
Yeah. So he's a well-renowned chap, Mr. Franklin, on the $100 bill. He did loads of other things as well. So after doing the American thing, he went on to he actually became a bit of a fashion icon in France in his later life, bizarrely enough. And apparently, according to rumour, he did have it off with the Queen of France.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I don't know how true that is.
Does the king know?
He didn't get guillotined, so I guess not. For like treason or something. But before all this happened, he was a diplomat and he lived in London. I've got a bit of a fun fact for you, actually.
Go on.
I don't know if it's a fact, but so in 1998, his house in London was renovated, and then during the renovations, they found about 10 to 15 bodies in the basement.
Shit.
Well, human bones, because it was 1700s, and when they did sort of carbon dating on him, they did date back to Franklin's lifetime, but nobody actually knows how they got there or who they are or what.
What the hell? So he was a bit of a Fred West, I think.
Well, maybe nobody knows. But he's a bit of a weirdo, I think, generally. But he could have been a serious. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get sued by the Franklin estate but yeah, he's an all-round weirdo. For some reason, there were some bodies in the place that he lived.
Bloody hell! But I mean, if you think about him, I remember we were talking about the rugby player that you said was just good at everything.
Yeah.
You think about Benjamin Franklin. I mean, he signs the Declaration of Independence. He's on the $100 bill. He was an inventor. He's pumped the Queen of France.
He's done a lot of stuff, yeah.
So was he president?
Well, no. Through my extensive research, it turns out that he never made it to top office of presidency. And before you even ask, he's not on Mount Rushmore either.
No. But I mean, so he was kind of one of those guys that just knocked about with a lot of famous people,
Yeah, well, I mean, he was seems like he was a bit of a genius, and he did a lot of stuff. Diplomat, he was hanging around with all the right people,
Right.
And as you mentioned before, he was a bit of an inventor as well. He invented things like the lightning rod.
Oh wow!
So you must have seen the painting where he's holding a kite with a key at the end.
Yeah.
That's a famous thing, isn't it, that he did? So I think that's where that came from.
Right.
So the lightning rod, bifocal glasses.
Bifocal glasses.
Franklin, and swim fins. So these, like the flippers that divers
Yeah.
use. So he invented. I think they're way removed from what they are these days.
Yeah.
They were probably just planks of wood that you put on your feet, but the concept is there. So he came across, he invented that.
But
A few other things as well, loads of stuff.
do you invent something like that, or do you just look at fish and think, if we just put flippers on our feet, like?
Yeah, I'd say that's an invention. You got to put two and two together, right, haven't you? You can't just go.
I suppose so.
Yeah, because a fish swims sort of side to side, doesn't it? So you've got to kind of adapt it, the concept to. I'd say that's an invention.
Okay.
You don't try and take stuff away from Benjamin Franklin here. So yeah, I mean, like I said, they've been highly modernised, made into rubber, and all the rest of it these days. But essentially, they're his invention.
Wow.
And now, one of the strangest things he invented was a musical instrument, which is what we're going to talk about today, called the glass harmonica.
Wow.
Not harmonica.
Right.
Like the cowboy thing. It's ARM, harmonica.
Harmonica. And he invented this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's one of his own inventions.
Cool.
So at the time in the 1700s, when Franklin was about, there was a lot of wine glass players. These were quite popular. If you come across it, you've probably seen them on like Britain's Got Talent. They usually wheel one of these out every now and then.
I have, and my granny used to sit in the corner at a party, a cigarette in one hand, running her finger around the edge of a crystal glass.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah,
weird, creepy sound. And then, like you said, I've seen it on the talent shows where you can actually play quite good songs with them.
They do, yeah. So you fill the glass with water, and then you run your finger around the edge, like you say, and it makes a sound, like a weird sort of spooky sound, isn't it? And the different levels of water and the different shapes of glass create a different tone or different sounds. So that's how you make your tunes. So it's pretty clever, if you could sort of sit there and engineer it so that it actually made a tune. I mean, you don't really see them that much these days, but it was massively popular when Franklin was around. And Franklin himself, he was a big fan of this sound. In May 1761, Franklin stopped by Cambridge University to take in a concert by Edmund de Laville. He was a professional wine glass player, and he'd actually refined his own glasses, his own finely tuned glasses, and his own technique to create a better sound. So he was an expert at this stuff. So after the concert, Franklin, he couldn't help notice there's definitely room for improvement for this instrument. Obviously it takes loads of time to set up all this glass and get the water levels right and everything like that. So yeah, he thought, this can be done better. I've got an idea.
I can't imagine that. I mean, can you imagine touring with that, and every time you go to another gig, you've got to empty all the water out, pack all your wine glasses, and then go and...
Absolutely, yeah. It's just not practical, is it?
I can imagine like a milliliter of water different, and it's out of tune and stuff like that.
Yeah. It has to be precise and exact.
Absolute pain in the arse.
Yeah, and we're not just talking 3 or 4. Sometimes you see them, it's just a row of glasses, isn't it? Like 8 or 9 glasses. We're talking a huge table with a massive array of different glasses, and also, what if you break one?
Yeah.
This guy's got like a finely tuned glass that plays a specific tone, and then the roadie comes in and just slips on a banana skin. That's his concert done, So yeah, it's not a practical instrument, or it's not really an instrument. It's not a practical setup, I suppose.
Can I ask if you've ever actually seen someone slipping on a banana skin?
No, not properly. I think I stood on one, and it's kind of slid under my foot, but not properly slipped over like cartoon style.
That's something I'll do one day when I'm bored, go into Chester City Centre and put a banana skin down the floor and just watch for a wee while.
And film. Yeah. It's like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Just watch people fall over, spin round.
Sorry to interrupt you, James. Carry on.
No, it's a valid point. So he saw all this. He's like, no, this isn't right. I love the sound of this, but I can make it better. So he went to see a glass blower in London. I mean, you don't get them anymore, do you? But I think you do in like Landudno and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And like they do specialised like glass trinkets that you can buy for like 40 quid. And stuff.
can you believe I was watching a documentary about glass blowing like a couple of days ago?
Was it really?
Yeah, and they
The
still
world's most dangerous glass blower. Is that the next episode? Is it?
and do you know they end up with big, massive, hanging, saggy mouths from
like
stretching their cheeks so much.
like blowing, right?
big floppy
like blowing
mouths.
the big pipe. Yeah, because that happens to like trumpet players as well,
Does it?
doesn't it? Yeah, you know, because they're
suppose
just
so,
like
yeah.
going, yeah, like bulging their cheeks out all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got like big, saggy cheeks hanging down. So yeah, this is what he did. So you went to see a glass blower, had a chat with him, said, "Look, I've got an idea, I've got a concept." It took him about 2 years of messing about, you know, and he developed this glass harmonica eventually. So we'll put a picture up of this on the Facebook page so you can have a look.
Yeah.
It's quite a weird kind of little thing. It's like a long tube, right, of rotating bowls, and each bowl has a different pitch, and they're all linked together with a metal rod that shoots through the middle of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're all sort of stacked up in a line. There's a metal tube that goes round. It's on like a wooden sort of stand, and then you use a pedal to rotate the bowls. I don't know if I'm making any sense. It's kind of like, think of maybe like a piano, the way that's set up, right? So you sat in front of it, and you've got the keys in front of you. Instead of keys, you've got these glass bowls, right, all stacked up together in a row, on this kind of glass bowls on the side in a row, and then you've got a pedal that spins the glass bowls.
So the bowls spin as opposed to you having to spin your finger.
Exactly, and that was one of the points I was going to make. Yeah, so you know, you wet your finger like you do when you sort of do it with the glasses, but rather than you going round the glass spins because you control it with this pedal. And you put your fingers on the glass, and each bowl, because it's varying size, will make a different sound.
Well, see, when you told me that he watched this concert and then thought I can do this better, I thought it was a bit of a dickhead, but that actually makes sense. That's quite
bad. Yeah. It seems quite logical, doesn't it? You know, to get the machine to do the work rather than the person, and you essentially, well, I wouldn't say it's the same sound, but essentially it's the same concept, isn't it? So, I mean, it does sound a bit mad, you know. Like I say, I think you need to see it to sort of understand it properly. So we will put a picture up, but it does produce a very unique, and it's quite a haunting sound actually. I mean, do you want to give it a listen?
Go on, yeah. Let's see. Here.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, it does sound quite creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so you can imagine this in the 1700s, that sound would have been absolutely wild.
Oh yeah.
You know, like nothing that you've ever heard before. I mean, today you've got synthesizers and things like that which can recreate sound like that, but at the time, it'd be madness.
Yeah.
All right. So, any questions so far, Fraser? So, are we on the same page?
On the same page, yeah. So Benjamin Franklin invented an instrument. Took a.
That's it. Yeah. It's not rocket science.
Can I say something though? I think that because the glasses weren't an instrument, they were just someone playing glasses, and he made an instrument from them.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I mean, that's a very good point. A collection of glasses, you can't really class it as an instrument. It's just glasses. That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you could have different sized bricks and hit them with a wooden spoon. They probably make different sounds, but it doesn't make them an instrument.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah. So he's actually created an instrument here.
I think so. Yeah.
Off the back of his joy in listening to people mess around with glasses. Yeah. All right. So I mean, as you've just heard, it's a crazy, crazy sound. And Franklin, being a diplomat, he'd travel the world, and he would take his harmonica with him.
Right.
He'd take it around. He'd play it at dinner parties. And these dinner parties would be hosted. I know, yeah, not now, mate. It's not that sort of party. These dinner parties would be hosted by like the politically influential, various famous people of the time, and stuff like that. So it started to create a bit of a buzz. And so much so that other people started to buy them, or it's a bit vague, this. So he developed it, he invented it, and then other people bought it. But then I don't know, like, do you get the plans from him, or was it like, do you have to ask him to make more? I don't really know about this, but it became popular and people were buying them. I mean, so popular, in fact, that Mozart and Beethoven wrote music for it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's massive.
Yeah.
I mean, some players who started playing even became famous just purely for playing this instrument. I mean, it became a bit of a craze at the time. It went viral.
Right. A bit like the stylophone.
Oh yeah, that's that weird buzzy thing, wasn't it?
Really weird thing, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's another good point, because you get these instruments that come along every now and then, and then they kind of hit the mainstream and don't seem to last sort of that long, but they still have a big impact on the musical community.
I'm pretty sure they've relaunched the stylophone, but like the stylophone 2, and it's actually really quite cool. I nearly bought one.
Did you?
Yeah.
What have you done to upgrade it?
Sample on it and stuff like that. And...
okay, yeah. I mean, there's loads of other things these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty basic. I think it was cool at that point because electronic music was kind of new and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that weird thing that the Beach Boys used. It goes like, woo.
Oh, yeah.
You put your arm up and down like a pipe or something, or like a metal rod.
Another thing,
Yeah. You don't see them anymore, do you?
No.
But that was a thing for a bit.
It's all digital now, though, so you don't really see any instruments now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Everything can be manipulated to sound. I mean, the digital sound is so good these days. It sounds like the real deal. So. So I mean, as the popularity grew of this instrument, it grew and grew, and got more people using them. Strange occurrences started to happen,
right?
And rumours started circulating that stated that listening to the instrument, listening to it live, would cause the listener to go insane. Yeah, I know. And the players themselves would grow as they were learning to play. It would grow more physically and mentally ill. The more and more they practiced.
Right.
Some of the players would complain of nervousness, fainting, dizziness, cramps. They'd get the shits as well, for some reason, and melancholia. So and I mean, listening to it, you kind of understand why. Not the shits and all that, but the melancholia thing. It does have that kind of sound, doesn't it?
It depends how long you're listening to it. I mean, I can imagine like. Someone played a little tune on it, you go, that's quite mad. That weird thing can make a tune. But can you imagine going and sitting for an hour and a half at a concert watching someone play?
Yeah. Well, we're talking about people who are playing it.
Yeah.
So, have you ever tried to learn an instrument?
Yeah. I've tried to learn a few instruments, and I've decided that I can't play any instrument.
It's just not musically inclined.
I think it's in you or it's not in you, and I think art is the same. I can't draw. I never could draw. I'm shit at it, and I think it's just. I think I could probably.
Not for you.
Yeah, I could put the time in. I could learn to play some tunes on the guitar, but that's different from someone that can really play an instrument.
Yeah. But then you'll know, if you've ever tried, at least, how much time and effort that you have to put in to learn something.
Yeah.
Like learn an instrument.
That's different.
So, what you were saying, yeah, fair enough. If you're listening to it for 10 minutes, then yeah, it might not have this impact on you. But if you're trying to learn it, you're playing it over and over and over again, constantly, day in, day out. So, given the sound that it creates, you can kind of half understand why you'd kind of get a bit of a weird feeling after it. It's also reported that in live performances, people would get headaches. They'd even have seizures.
I can understand that.
Yeah, and it was claimed as well the sound would actually cause premature births in pregnant women as well.
I don't know why that's funny.
Yeah. So they just listen to this, go to a concert, and then give birth for some reason. Yeah. It's a whole new. Say have a hot curry and have a bath.
Yeah.
This is a new thing. Yeah, go and listen to the harmonica.
The harmonica. There's theories about the brown noise as well, isn't there? That note that makes you shit yourself.
Yeah, apparently I didn't look into this, but I've heard of it before. I know there was a South Park episode of it. I think, wasn't there? Yeah, no, I didn't look into it because wasn't really the angle I was going for this. According to reports, again, like this is the thing. I don't really have figures here.
Right.
This is just reported stuff. So I know that in some episodes we say, so many people died, nobody died, whatever. There's no actual concrete numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But according to reports, many players, the people who picked it up and started playing, they died unexpectedly.
Okay.
And there was also a child in the audience in Germany who actually died when it was being played.
Right.
I know, so weird stuff.
Do they know what he died of, though? I mean...
well, he died with the glass harmonica, obviously. That's why it's in here now. That's why I'm talking about it.
Right, okay.
So it created a bit of a panic through the society because nobody could really figure out what was going on and why these strange things were happening. I mean, one of the most famous deaths to occur was in 1808, where Marianne Kirsinger, she was Europe's premier glass harmonica virtuoso. There you go. Try and say that after a few beers. She died at the age of 39, unexpectedly again, and many suspected it was because of the nervousness that was brought on by playing the instrument.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so as I say, no actual figures, but there's a lot of suspicion, and it seems to be there's a lot of stuff happening that's related to playing this instrument. So yeah, you asked me what were the reasons for these people dying, or these people becoming ill at least, or having episodes. And one theory that was offered is the reason that this was happening. It was because of lead poisoning.
Lead poisoning from the glass.
So the glass, yeah. So the glasses used back in the day to form the bowls was lead glass.
Mm-hmm.
So it led people to believe that long periods of playing the instrument, with your fingers on it, it would lead to the player to be lead poisoned.
Right.
I mean, lead poisoning was quite common in those days.
Right. Everything had lead in it, didn't it?
Everything, yeah. So like makeup had lead in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an understandable theory, but there's no actual scientific backing to say that the amount of lead used in the glass would be enough to cause this type of lead poisoning. So it's difficult to... I think it's kind of been debunked, the lead poisoning theory.
There can't be that much lead in glass that by touching the glass it poisons you.
Yeah, there's that also... Sometimes the glass would be painted in like lead paint.
Right.
Like the different bowls would be different notes, so they'd be colour coordinated. So they put lead paint on them, so the player would know where to put their fingers. So there'd be lead paint there as well. But like I say, I mean, lead was literally everywhere back in them days.
Yeah.
So there's not enough lead here to say, well, to warrant these sort of episodes when there's lead in other things that people were using on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't explain why the audience would get ill either.
Well, that's true, yeah. I mean, that wee boy, he wasn't touching it.
Yeah, he's nowhere near it, and he died. you remember this is like the 1700s, early 1800s, and people had mad, crazy beliefs. I mean, they do now, of course, but even more so back then. And it was suggested that the music had some sort of magical, mystical power, and it actually opened a portal to hell when it was played. I mean, I've got no evidence to back this up, but
I was just going to try and argue in favour of this actually being a dangerous instrument until you said that.
Yeah, I mean, these are just theories. I mean, the incidents are real. These are just theories of what the causes are.
What I was going to say is music frequencies are actually a physical thing. I wonder if the frequencies actually caused actual ripples in people's hearts or brains or
okay,
something like that.
Well, that's okay. Hang on a minute, right? Wait, we will come to that definitely.
Okay.
Because you're too smart for this podcast, Fraser. I think we need to up the game a little bit. I mean, it could just be simply down to coincidence, or accidents happen, people die, people go mad, people get stressed, particularly with the actual players. They're under a lot of pressure to perform. They've got performances every night. I mean, there's even the idea of a placebo effect, so that once the rumour starts, or if you listen to that, a gateway to hell opens, you're going to get dead ill or possessed. And that just snowballs into sort of other people going, oh, well, it's happening to me as well. So, that's another idea.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, the rumours became so strong and so pronounced throughout the communities that it was enough to actually kill off the instrument. And by the mid 1800s, it was pretty much obsolete. So no one was really playing it.
But just because people were afraid to.
Yeah, it just kind of died a natural death. It's like just become, because of the rumours, I suppose. And then, I mean, also it's not very practical. I mean, people still do play it today. It's there's a bit of a revival.
Yeah.
And you still get players who play this harmonica today.
Can you actually?
It's very specialised. So it's just very specialised, and like I said, it's not very practical.
Can you buy one new? Is it something you can actually go and get now?
I think you get one made.
Right.
I don't think you go down to Dawson's and you've got one there. I think you have to get it. It's a bespoke thing.
Yeah.
It's probably going to cost you a decent amount.
Find some big saggy mouthed glass blower.
Just to make this thing.
Right.
People, like I say, people do still play them. Okay, so you did mention frequencies before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get a little bit technical because I do think there's an explanation as to why this instrument unsettles people and why the rumours started. Now it's all to do with how our brain locates sound.
Right.
Okay. Now this is really, really complicated, right? And it's changing all the time. Science is changing it all the time. So I'm just going to do a really basic version just to explain how it's done. So it is currently thought that we locate sound by recognising the difference in time it takes from one sound to reach one ear and then the other, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's called the phase difference.
Mm-hmm.
So as a frequency gets higher, the phase difference becomes less, and it becomes more difficult for our brains to process. Okay? At about 1 kilohertz, it becomes very difficult for our brains to locate the sound using this method. So the phase difference.
Is that because a high frequency travels faster than a slow frequency?
It must be, yeah. So the brain can't distinguish quick enough where it's coming from. And as the sound gets higher, and at around 4 kilohertz and above, the brain actually changes the way it locates sound. And rather than using time, it uses the difference in volume between each ear.
Right.
Okay, so now between 1 kilohertz and 4 kilohertz, the range of pitches of the glass harmonica, or the harmonica, falls between 1 kilohertz and 4 kilohertz.
Right.
So when you're listening to it, the brain is confused as to which method to use, whether it uses the phase method or the volume method. So the listener's never quite sure as to where the sound's coming from. Okay, so ultimately, it can't figure it out, and it leaves the listener feeling a bit uncomfortable And the sound's a bit outer worldly as well.
Yeah.
So this is possibly an explanation as to why people started to feel a bit uncomfortable listening to it, and they started to get a bit nauseous, and and why it doesn't explain why people would faint and collapse and die. But like I said before, that could be coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
But it does half explain, at least, as to why this instrument is unsettling to a lot of people.
That makes sense. We had years ago in our shop, we had an alarm installed, and the installer said he's put what's called a sound bomb as part of the alarm, because our warehouse is like in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's not, it's in Sealand and Chester, but there's no one there at night, so when the alarm's going off, no one really hears it and gives a fuck anyway. So, but he said he put this sound bomb in, and he says it sends out a sound at a frequency that actually just agitates and disorientates the people in the building.
Yeah.
And that's making me think, I wonder if there is an actual frequency that can make you feel confused and ill and stuff like that.
Well, it seems like it. It seems that like this harmonica kind of the frequencies that it creates sits right within that range that would make you feel uncomfortable and unhappy. Really, I don't know if you remember sort of years and years ago, outside sort of residential commercial shops. When you get like a group of shops in the middle of a residential area, they started putting out a similar sort of thing, like alarms that only 16-year-olds could hear. So, because groups of kids would hang around out of shops before the internet when we were younger. It's just what kids used to do.
Yeah.
And they started putting up these alarms which set out a certain frequency, because as you get older, your ears get worse, and certain frequencies become, you can't recognise them as well. But when you're 16, your ears are fresh and ready to go.
Yeah.
And these alarms would pump out this particular frequency, and it would just make the kids fuck off because they just didn't like the sound. It's not like a big blazing alarm. It's like, I don't know. Have you ever heard a bat?
Yeah,
Like, when a bat's flying around, and sometimes you hear it kind of go.
You don't know if you've heard it or felt it.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
Similar sort of thing to that, yeah. So that's what these alarms were doing, and then these kids would just go, "Oh, fucking hell, it's weird around here. Let's go." And that was and I don't know if they still do it, but I guess they do if you've got a similar sort of alarm.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's pretty much it. Like I say, it's hard to determine how much of an impact, how many deaths it caused, how much illness it caused, because it's not really strictly on record, and whether this instrument had a direct impact on these deaths, illnesses, it's impossible to say. But nevertheless, the instrument itself is dubbed the most dangerous instrument in the world, and it's for that reason. And unfortunately, the rumours that carried on through the 1700s, 1800s, as I say, there were enough to kill off the instrument. And by the mid 1800s, no one was playing it really. It was that, obviously, the rumours. Plus, also, it's quite difficult. It's quite a quiet instrument to play. So as venues got bigger, it was quite difficult to have it the distinguished sound outplay the other instruments, in like larger concert halls. So people sort of disregarded it because of that.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive, and it does break quite easily as well because it's made of glass. So yeah, some people do play it, like I say, but it's not very practical.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you'd have the mic technology to mic it up and put it through speakers, but even probably 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't have had that technology to mic it up in a big arena or anything. So
yeah, and I think that's probably why it's getting a bit of a revival, because you can now mic it up and have people listen to it in larger concert halls. But like you say, it's only recently that technology has become available. So yeah, unfortunately, Benjamin Franklin, he did say it was his favourite invention, and he did carried on playing it until he died, and nothing happened to him.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mysterious one, really. I'd say.
Well, something that I tend to do, and I know you probably do it as well, when you tell me you've got the most dangerous instrument, is I go and think, right, okay, what can I challenge it with? And I sort of had a look at, what could be dangerous about an instrument. Now, obviously, most instruments you could batter someone to death with, but that's the person that's dangerous using the instrument as a weapon.
Of course, yeah. And I did come across a few of those myself.
Yeah.
I did see a guy. I was going to write these down, but there was a guy who hit his maid with a flute, I think. So and she died. And there's you get the comedy piano falling on someone.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Now I think back to the Aaron Ramsey one where you talked about some footballers that had done bad things, but that's just because they're bad people. Whereas Aaron Ramsey, it's his football that's dangerous, and it's the instrument itself. It's what the instrument does is dangerous, as opposed to, like I said, someone hitting someone with a flute or something like that.
That's it.
But what always comes to mind when I think of dangerous instruments, and again, this is really bollocks because it's not the instrument's dangerous. I always think of the mafia guy walking with the violin case, with the string gun in it.
Yeah.
And opens the violin case, and I suppose that that's a dangerous instrument because it's disguised as an instrument, but it's not. It's not.
It's not really an instrument.
So no, it's a difficult one to
tune.
Yeah, difficult one to challenge.
Yeah, there's not really much else to because of course there's always going to be accidents with instruments. Even like particularly modern day, everything's plugged in, electric guitars and all the rest of it. So you get the danger of electric shocks and things like that. But again, I think that's not so far removed that it's not the instrument, but it's more removed than this. I think this is the actual sound that the music makes, which potentially causes a problem.
The only one that comes to mind, I've had a guitar string snap.
And it hurts
that can hurt. Now, imagine tuning your double bass, and one of those big strings snaps.
Yeah,
that could be quite dangerous.
Yeah, no, I do agree. But then that's not the sound. This is the sound that this thing creates.
I agree with you.
We think it's the sound that it makes, which makes it is not that dangerous, but makes you feel a bit not sure about it. Yeah,
definitely agree with you. Just trying to put some stuff out there, But
yeah, of course, no, this is what we're all about.
I can't honestly argue with it. I think, that's good.
Yeah, well, I do again with everything that I present. I do urge you to sort of have a further look into it. Hopefully, you can hear how haunting it is from the clip that we played earlier.
Yeah.
But it is, as I mentioned, there's a bit of a revival, so there are modern people playing it, and it is really creepy. It does make me uncomfortable listening to it, to be honest.
I'll definitely we'll get some YouTube videos, get them up on the Facebook page, and
good idea. And as we've been saying, if you want to contact us, have we sorted that email address out yet?
No, it's still the shit one, jamesandfraserpod@gmail.com.
Right, that's the one to email then.
The reason being, we can actually have mail at themostdangerouspodcast.com, but it's £24 for the year.
We can't afford that unless we get the listeners to chip in. So come and give us your money.
Yeah. Any donations can be sent to me.
My bank account.
Yeah. But no, seriously, guys, listen. We really appreciate. We're not doing this for the money. We're doing this because it's good fun.
And if there's anybody out there who plays the harmonica, I'd be very interested to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah. Right into us. Send us a wee video of you playing it with your
please.
On. But
no dick pics.
Yeah, no dick pics. We keep saying that.
No more.
Yeah, no more. No. My inbox is full. But seriously, guys, subscribe to us if you can. And if you've got friends, go and tell them about the podcast. Share it on your Facebook page. Just do anything you can to try and get us a few more listeners. We're enjoying doing this, and we get a lot of pleasure out of seeing that we've got subscribers and people that are actually committed to us to listen to our podcasts. That's incredible. That's better than money. That's just knowing that people out there
What?
are.
You can edit that out.
Yeah, well, it is. I get a lot of pleasure knowing that there's people out there enjoying listening to us talking shit for an hour. But
Righto. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you've enjoyed listening to my ramblings as per usual.
I've enjoyed it.
Good.
That's been good.
All right. Excellent.
So this has been. Sorry, go.
I'll see you next time.
See you next time. This has been the Most Dangerous Podcast. Take care, James. Bye-bye.
Bye.